welcome back to Easy Does It, a podcast created specifically for the amazing members of the MJ team. Rob and I are back with you again, excited for another great episode. Today, our topic is distractions. And Rob, did you know that people are distracted at work every 3 minutes?
Not already with the facts.
On average. Oh, I have so many facts where that came from. I think we can all agree we are distracted today more than we ever have been.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to talk about that, what we can do about it, why it happens, where it comes from. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. But before that, hit me with this episode's Would You Rather.
This Would You Rather will distract you from the topic. And so we have a good one. So would you rather be wrong 70% of the time with TEDx confidence? You know TEDx.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or right 100% of the time, but you have to only be able to explain it with cat metaphors and finger puppets.
What? Okay, so wrong 70% of the time?
70% of the time you're wrong, but you have the confidence level of a TEDx speaker. Or you can be right 100% of the time, but you have to explain it with cat metaphors and finger puppets.
I don't think I know enough about cats to even make that work. And finger puppets.
Maybe be dog metaphors. You can do that too.
I could do that. Oh, God. There is nothing about wrong 70% of the time that sits well with me.
But you're confident, like super confident.
I don't think I can do that.
I'd be willing to bet that multiple people would probably just believe you anyway because you're so confident.
Yeah, that is valid.
And you just fix it later.
70% of the time, though, is a lot.
30%, you're right.
I think I'm going to have to take my chances with the cat metaphors.
All right, so go ahead.
No, I'm not going to do it right now.
Okay, finger puppets. You need to go ahead and whip something out. Do you remember those things back in the day? You could get them out of the vending machine at like a arcade game or shop or whatever, and they had the little guys with little arms.
Yeah.
Dude, that was the jam. I used to put two of those bad boys over here.
Yeah, this goes back to another question you've asked me about pushing the easy button, being able to say something and come up with something like that. It's not my strength, but I still don't want to be wrong 70% of the time.
I don't think anybody does.
That is soul crushing to me. Yeah.
Some people are searching the world for confidence, but they ain't trading it for that being wrong 70% of the time. I'd have done the same thing. I was looking at that. I'm like, cat puppet or
but
cat
you would
puppets,
be good
bring
at
it
that.
on. Huh?
You'd be good at that. The puppets and because you have a like an improv quality about you.
I appreciate that. I was going to say, you know who's really good? You've seen it, is Mark.
Yes.
That fool, it's crazy. When he did his, Art of the Interviewing class or whatever he did, he had told me we were going to do some application. It was going to be some improv. And I'm like, of course you would do that. And then that was the best part of the whole class. I actually stole that. I was teaching a service system class and we were just doing that skills practice phase where you got to practice being a customer. And then some guys were like, man, this is just so awkward. And I'm like, you just got to act it out. And they're like, I'm not good at that. And I'm like, you come up here real quick. And then you two stand by. You're going to be a person that just ran into at an intersection. You've got a kid in the back. You are wearing a chicken costume. And it was just like, they're like, what? And I'm like, act it out. Let's go. And then, but we were also talking about like how to handle objections and stuff. What objection do you think they're probably going to have? What problem do you think you're going to have? And I had them go, but I stole that from Mark. It was so good. It was so much fun.
It is. That is so far outside of my wheelhouse. I would struggle with the puppets and the cat metaphors, but I'd figure it out.
Well, you would. I guess you'd have to because you're going to be doing it all the time.
I'm
going to get you one of them guys to put that on your desk. Hopefully that doesn't distract you from the day, which is what we're talking about today.
It is. And I have so many stats. I mean, pages upon pages of stats here. Would you like me to start? Well, first of all, let me ask you this.
Yep.
What do you think qualifies as a distraction?
I would probably say anything, whether it be intentional, like you've done something to distract yourself, or unintentional that takes you off of a task.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up.
I
That's
didn't
probably
really-
the first time I had looked up a definition. I just made that up.
Yeah, I didn't look up a definition either.
Really?
I just put the question and hoped that you would define it.
That's what I got.
You said it with TEDx confidence.
Yeah. I might be 70% wrong on that one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I think a distraction is like anything that takes you away from the task at hand or what you are trying to be focused on. I did write down there are both internal and external distractions, which I didn't necessarily really think about until I was looking at this. Like internal distractions, I think is more like our self-talk, maybe some anxiousness, maybe some daydreaming, like mind wandering.
Yep.
So those are distractions too, because then it could be like, oh, wonder what's happening over here. And then before you know it, I've got my phone and, the internal could turn into an external distraction. So I think there's, when I go back to the little fact I shared, the 3 minutes on average, I think once you take into account internal and external distractions, then certainly I could see, because external is not just our phone or computer, but can even be other people.
Oh, 100%.
So when you put all those factors together, it's kind of like, all right, well, maybe 3 minutes, the average person is distracted every 3 minutes. Maybe that doesn't sound so unbelievable now.
I can even imagine being where you and the training team sits over there near the window.
Yeah.
It's great that you got the window. And Lizard Man, what's his name?
Yeah,
Licky. He's out there chilling. Like, you got distractions out the window. If you stand up and you're at your standing desk and you're looking around, people walk by.
Yep.
I would have such a hard time over there. But there's tons of distractions if you choose to be distracted by them. Some of you don't have choice. Mm-hmm. I know you help out with the licensing, so I'm sure you have people walking over there nonstop. Mm-hmm. Some people just walk by to say, "Hey, that's probably me." It's probably me.
Yeah, it is. It's. I just think when you take into all of those factors, no wonder it kind of is like it's just you're always going from one thing to the next. That brings me to another question. Lots of questions before I get to my stats, apparently. What are your thoughts on multitasking?
I am not great at multitasking. I've heard that multitasking is impossible for humans. Apparently they say that. And they say even computers don't multitask. They task switch faster than we possibly can witness and see. Mm-hmm. So you might open two pieces of software and they both seemingly open up simultaneously, but one task is running and another task is running. It just switches around, and they say the same thing for us. And they say, like, can you chew gum and walk at the same time? Or you're chewing gum and you're doing something else. And I don't really know, maybe like what that actually means, because it looks like you're multitasking, but it seems like it's almost a mindless, you're not actually using your mind for that. It's behind the scenes, it's running in the background, I guess.
It's like an involuntary, like your brain's doing that without putting forth a lot of effort.
Like breathing. Yeah, it's I can breathe intentionally, or I can just not, and it happens anyway. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that we are capable of it. And some people can do many things. Like my father-in-law, he has a hard time, always doing multiple things. My stepdad, he does multitask stuff all the time. He'd be on his computer. He's got something over here. He's watching a show. He might be cooking something in the next room. And while all those things are going on at the same time, he's doing one thing. Mm-hmm. And then he'll watch TV, and then he'll go finish cooking. And so it's doing one thing at a time, just multiple things at the same time. So I don't think it's happening.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think you use the words task switching, and I think that's actually what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're not multitasking. We talk about this in Study Expo. When I meet with the tech builders and the builder plumbers before they get started, we talk about how if you're studying, don't think you can have that TV on. Don't think that, your phone's sitting beside you. If you're studying, you're studying. If you're watching TV while you're studying, you're not doing both at the same time. And so I think that going back to the distraction piece, a lot of times we think we can, watch TV and work on work or read a book or whatever. But that's not really what's happening. You're really doing two different tasks. And what I read was it comes with like a cognitive cost when we switch like that. Every time your brain has to reorient, like, oh, I'm back to studying now. Oh, I'm back to watching TV now. So every time you switch, it takes a second for your brain to reorient and kind of reset.
Right.
So you're using energy and time trying to switch between tasks. So no different than if I'm sitting at my desk and I'm working on planning a lesson and I get a notification on my phone, right? I pick it up. I'm not doing two things at one time.
Right.
And then when I go back to the work on my computer, I'm now having to reorient myself. And we've all done that. Like, okay, where was I? What was I doing?
Yeah.
What was the thought I just had? I forgot where I was going with that. That's that time and energy that it takes us. And if you do that over and over and over and over and over throughout the day, think of how much energy and time you've wasted by going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I find myself in waves maybe of where I can be extremely productive, and then times where it might be a week where I'm just like, I am struggling this week on getting certain tasks done. And while my office is upstairs and kind of tucked away, I call them drive-bys. I know you probably call them the same thing. People roll by, and it's my favorite because I enjoy the conversations and it's fun catching up with people. I just appreciate people stop by because I'm not anywhere close to normal traffic. So when people stop by, I appreciate it. But then some people will walk in and I'm like in the middle of something. I'm like, oh, I'm almost done. And then somebody will, what's up, dude? And what's happening, man? And they're like, oh, not much. And they sit down and I'm like, cool. I'm like, this is going to take a minute. And
I'm never going to get back to where I was.
So like I very much appreciate and enjoy the conversations that I can have with people. But there's, sometimes you're in the middle of something. It's like, I have got to get this done. And so sometimes the door will be shut. I think you gave me the recommendation one time because I was like, I'm working on the objection handling class. And I'm like, I have just got to get this thing done. And every time I try to get started on my office, I get distracted. Something comes up. I'll like take my phone on the stand and I'll put it behind me so I can't hear anything and I can't see it, but I'll still get distracted. So your recommendation was like, just go to the library or go somewhere where you can work. It was like, go home and work or go to the library. And I was like, if I go home, I'm be in the pantry. I'm going to be, I wonder what show, let me just check this real quick. Or I'll even turn the TV on. We've got the bonus room upstairs and I'll like have my laptop out and I'll be working and I'll just turn the TV on and just have it in the background. But then I'm like, oh, I love this part. And I'll just watch it and I'm like, oh no, 10 minutes has gone by. I need to get back to it. And so when I went to the library, I put my phone in my bag, had my laptop out, and I cranked out like 7 hours of straight work, and it was awesome. It was exactly what I needed. So the distractions are definitely, they're prevalent every single day. And to your point about task switching, the research that I found, they called it a task switching penalty. So if I'm doing task switching often, I'm doing this, and then I touch this, and then I work on that, and then I come back. They said that there's leaves behind a residue that hampers focus because I have to refocus on what I was originally focused on. Where was I again? Oh, okay. Oh, that's the idea. And then you'll start and then you'll do it again and you'll touch something else. Your phone goes off. And so they didn't give an actual data with this, but there was a study in 2009. They said that showed after switching tasks, performance drops due to leftover attention stuck on the prior task. So every time you switch, a little bit of attention is left over. So they called it a residue. I thought that was an interesting term.
It is.
But there's a penalty every time you switch. And so there's huge value in just focusing on one thing to completion or set a goal. I found something that helped me. While you found a lot of facts, I found a lot of they're like, try this. Here's this tip. But they said if you're working on a project, if you're using the Ivy Lee method, but if you haven't used the Ivy Lee method before, you should. You write down the day prior what your 6 items that you want to do the next day. They're priorities, not just simple tasks. But if you're maybe setting one of those as your a project, well, I can't finish a project tomorrow. It's a project.
Right.
But you can set a goal for yourself of I'm going to get this amount of work done. And once I've completed that, check box on my Ivy Lee method, I'm going to move on to the next one. Mm-hmm. The Ivy Lee helps me tremendously. But I found I got myself in hot water where I'll not get specific on it of what I want to complete.
I just wrote that down. Oh. I just wrote being specific.
Beautiful.
Because I do think that is what happened. So for me, the same thing. I have like a project, and so I write the name of the project.
Yep.
And then it's like, then I look at that and I'm like, I don't know what that means today.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I had thought enough in advance to say like, today I'm going to create the PowerPoint. Today I'm going to create the first part of the lesson plan. Today I'm just going to plan what my handouts are going to be. Like if I had been specific about what I was going to get completed that day in relation to that project, I would find myself probably less distracted, because as soon as I see the name of the project, then immediately I'm just like, I don't know what to do for that today.
Yeah.
Let me find something else.
I'll do something else. It's fine.
Which is a whole different thing about procrastination.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yep. But I do think it's all of this that we're kind of alluding to goes to this bigger idea of the fact that there's only limited amount of time, right? And so I think this distraction piece, I think sometimes we don't even recognize the amount of time that it is taking us to switch back and forth or whatever it is. It's just such a time suck. And I want everybody listening to hear me clearly say, this is, I am talking to myself today as much as I am talking to anybody else. This was really good for me to do, because even today I put my phone where I couldn't see it. And that in of itself I felt super helpful. Mm-hmm. I already use work focus on the iPhone. You know, it's like you can turn it on your iPhone and you can say only these people can contact me, and I can only get notifications from these apps while I'm in work mode. And mine is set to turn on. I don't have to do it. It turns on when I enter the Morris-Jenkins radius.
Yeah.
And it turns off when I get out to about Carowinds Boulevard.
So the question is, who's on that list? I'm just kidding.
Who's on the list? So here's when I talked about time. Here are some things. Besides, people are distracted at work every 3 minutes. It takes about 23 minutes to return to deep focus after an interruption.
Well, that's a lot longer than I thought.
23 minutes.
Wow.
Yep. 43% of workers admit they are distracted for at least 3 hours a day. 3 hours. Emails and chat messages are the top digital distractions, followed closely by smartphones and meetings. I think that too, and I should probably just turn it off. Just turn it off. You know, when I'm working at my computer and it's like bloop, bloop, in that little box comes up in the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm just like,
it's so hard not to click on that.
It's so hard. I think I should just turn it off. Yeah.
It'd probably help. I mean, we live in a day and age where you want to stay connected, know what's going on, be able to, there's huge value in taking action on something quickly. There's also a loss of value when you take action on something and it takes you away from something that you said was important.
Right.
So if you put something on that list and you get an email or a notification of something that action needs to be taken, that's a decision point where you say, is this important enough to take me away from something I said is a priority today?
Yeah.
I think that's the value of the Ivy Lee is determining what is most important today. If y'all have never done the Ivy Lee before, essentially all you do, you write down those 6 items that are priorities for the day. You do it the night prior, you write them down, no more than that. If you do any more than that, then you have too many priorities. You ain't got no priorities. Mm-hmm. So you write those things down and you number them and you say, this number 1 item is the one that I'm going to complete today and it's going to be first. Be specific. And then once you've completed, you move on to number 2. So every day you should get some of those priorities done. And if you don't complete it, then you take whatever item you ended on, reconfigure the list as you need to, and do it again the next day. The challenge that I've run into and the pushback that I've gotten and pushback for myself is like, what if you get a fire? What if that email that pops up is a fire and you got to handle it? You got to make that decision. Yeah. This is important. I need to tackle this now. But also some of those emails, it's like, it's probably important. Or if you turn the notification off, especially for maybe some of our supervisors out there, it's like, I have to, I can't just ignore that for the next 2 hours. I have to take that. Or it's a phone call. My whole piece of my role is answering the phone call. So you have to decide and weigh some of those things. So that's a challenge. But if you can turn off the notification or decide, hey, this is more important than that, I'm going to get to that in the next 30 minutes. Let me just get to this stopping point. That's a good decision. Yeah. Sometimes that can wait 30 minutes. Let me just finish this because I know it's going to take me 23 minutes to get back to focus.
On. Yep.
It's better to stay on.
And I even wrote part of the I put them as coping strategies. I don't really know if that was the right term, but I also had on here like, this is essentially time blocking, but saying like, I'm going to check emails during this time, and this time throughout the day. So if I do turn those notifications off, then first thing in the morning, I'm going to go through my inbox. I'm going to respond to what I need to respond to, delete what I need to delete, whatever. Add things to my to-do list if I need to. But then I'm not going to check emails again until like close Outlook. And I have the luxury of being able to do that. Obviously, we have people that are here that are serving our customers, both internally and externally, that can't do that. But I could turn off the notifications and then just stick to the times where I'm going to check my email. Yep. Same thing for your phone. Like I'm going to put my phone away. Now, I mean, obviously I have my watch, and really my watch works off of my work focus. So the only people who I really get texts from during the day are my family, and our team. And so, I think even checking your phone, you could say, okay, while I'm eating lunch today, I'm going to take 5 minutes to scroll on Instagram. But I think the nice part about scheduling it like that is that you don't find yourself in a place. They talked about being in a reactive state all day long. So it's like, bing, an email, ooh, a notification. It's like all day. I wrote down, we live in a state of mental noise, because it's just like we're reacting to all of these things all day long. Mm-hmm. And it's just so hard. I think that then triggers all kinds of other things. I wrote those down too, but it's like we're just always in this state. And if you could just limit it to a few chunks of time throughout the day, maybe that would help you feel like you're in a less reactive state all the time. Yeah. It would turn down the mental noise a little bit, especially if you're a person who already has a lot of mental noise. Mm-hmm. All that's doing is contributing to that.
For sure. And if you look at most of the stuff that we have exposure to, like if you just think of your phone as a whole, like pull out your phone and look at all the apps that you have on there. A lot of them are, number one, aesthetically pleasing, just the actual icon itself. Mm-hmm. But if you think about every single thing about that app, you think about Instagram, how are you notified that you have a notification or a like or a comment? You can choose to turn it on or turn it off to where you get a notification. You can even choose on your phone how it pops up. So I can have it pop up when my phone's locked or only unlocked. I can change the type of banner. Is it at the top? Is it in the middle? Does it appear and go away, or does it stay steady all the time until I physically swipe it? Some apps are that. Some of them I'm just like, I have got to turn that off because I'm like, get off my screen. But you can turn all those things off. Mm-hmm. But why would I want to? If you made a post and you got a like, it's like, oh, look at that. Mm-hmm. I have
dopamine.
Oh, all day, every time. I have my own personal page, and then I have a charity event page. And so on the charity event page, thank the Lord, I've got some amazing friends. My friend Dana runs the charity event page. She does a phenomenal job. And I appreciate her doing all that because I don't like doing posts and all that. But it's really cool to see when a post happens, you get this amount of views. They'll even give you a badge if you've got a certain amount of views or likes or whatever, if you've reached a milestone. So it makes you feel good. So that dopamine hits like, oh, I hit a milestone, get 5 more likes in this. Everything about those apps are meant to capture your attention. And so that Instagram, their only job is to get you to post more and get more interconnectivity with people. So they're going to reward you with a notification, with something like that. But think every company out there is doing the exact same thing. They all want to capture your attention. Use my application more. And so knowing that that's their intent, everything's designed for that. I know this is like a random direction, but I think like you talk about dopamine. Why are chips addictive?
Like potato chips?
Yeah.
Because they're delicious.
They are delicious. All chips are designed to be addictive. So if you think any chip, certain triangle chips, like they've designed them to be crunchy. They design them with certain textures. They design them with certain flavors. And the more of them that you eat, you notice that you don't necessarily get full, like you're hungry. Even if you eat a whole bag of chips, it's like, that was good. And my stomach hurts. But I know I need to keep on going. And so a lot of times you get chips and it doesn't satisfy you, but it's like, I just can't stop. They're designed for that. No different than most things that are distracting to us every day are designed for that. So if we know that, half of it is just knowing. Then you can make adjustments. Does this notification that pops up for an email here at work, bottom right, all of you know, is that serving me or is that detracting from my productivity? And more times than not, it's pretty straightforward to answer that question. The only people that I can really think that it would be truly challenging to say, hey, I can probably turn that off would probably be individuals that are serving customers, like supervisors. I got phone calls, I got emails, I got messages. They have a lot going on, but if you can turn that off and check it and almost time block, I'm going to answer emails or I'm going to check these notifications at this points of the day, and you can plan that, then your productivity changes.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that you said. Of course, I have some science behind distraction, which we've already kind of alluded to a little bit. I think, and I also saw, I don't know if I wrote any of this down, but I saw the same thing about how technology people, not all technology people are bad, but like things are designed for us to continue to use them. That's why, like, you could scroll, it never ends. There is no end. There's no end. That is by design. You could scroll Instagram, you could scroll Facebook, you could scroll TikTok, even though I'm not on TikTok, but I could see how I could get myself lost in that for hours. But there's no end. And that is by design, because if I want to sit there and scroll for hours and hours and hours, then Instagram sure as heck is going to let me do that. Because somewhere along the way, they're going to put some ads in there and I'm going to get stopped by something. And so I do think it's interesting when you start kind of stepping back and looking at it, like all of that is purposeful. And to kind of keep us engaged. So the science. So our brains are designed to constantly scan the environment for new stimuli. This has helped us survive since the beginning of time, right? We're always kind of scanning our environments for new things. Those things might be threats. Those things might be changes. Those things might be opportunities. But we're constantly scanning for new things. So if we're sitting in here and I'm pretty comfortable with this environment, but I have my phone sitting right here and a notification comes up immediately, that's going to catch. My brain is designed to do that. So there again, that goes to the design of these things, is that I think that we know how our brains work, or there's probably really smart people who figure those things out and they know how to get our attention. So I think that's the first thing, is your brain is geared to look for new things in the environment. So if you can keep your environment less flashy, new things here and there, that's why keeping your phone out of sight is helpful. Then you're not giving your brain the opportunity to look for new stuff in the environment. Dopamine. So this I thought was interesting. Dopamine, often misunderstood as a pleasure chemical, is actually about anticipation and motivation. Like the chips.
Yep.
It's like, I know what that chip is going to taste like. The anticipation of it. It's like, let me get up and get to this pantry right now.
Yep.
Because I can almost taste it already.
Yeah, James Clear talks about that a lot in his book of Atomic Habits, which is in the library.
Thank you.
You're welcome. He said that the dopamine spike, they actually measured it on a scale, and they said, like, you're anticipating the thing, whatever it is, chips, and the dopamine spike happens primarily before the anticipation, and then once you partake in the act, if it's smoking, if it's eating a chip, whatever, the dopamine level actually drops. And so the only other times that it dropped even lower was like you anticipated it and you didn't get it. So you wanted it, it didn't happen, and it actually drops out the other side. But the anticipation piece is actually where dopamine is highest. So you think about the chips, or, oh, it's almost lunch. Like if you know you're going to go eat with somebody and you're going to your favorite place, you're like, bro, like I cannot wait. It's in 30 minutes. And for that whole 30 minutes, it's all you can think about. But when you get there and maybe you take that first bite, it's all over. Like it's good, but really the anticipation is where it's at. Vacation's the same. You get excited about vacation. Then you finally get there and it's fun. But like you're thinking about that leading up to it, and the dopamine is actually higher.
Yeah, and now I'm kind of connecting this now to like if you make a post on, let's just say Instagram, I'm kind of thinking about my daughter. If you make a post on Instagram, and then so now I feel like it's kind of making sense to me more. You know, when she checks the post and it's the anticipation of checking to see who's liked it, who's commented on it. That's really interesting. It's not necessarily the seeing the likes. It's like, ooh, let me get my phone out and look and see. It's the anticipation of how many people have liked it. Has anyone liked it? Who has commented?
Yeah.
And then when you get on there, that was the next thing they talked about. Every time you get a notification, a new email, or even think about checking your phone, your brain gets a dopamine hit, reinforcing that behavior.
Yeah.
So and then you get it, and then it's like, oh, 5 people liked my post. Great. Well, then it's just like, there's so much reinforcement and they call that the dopamine loop. We keep seeking the quick feedback, even if it's in the scheme of things unimportant.
Yeah. Well, think about it. You make a post, or, I mean, all of you at home, if you're not watching it on your phone and you're not driving, but like if you just pull out your phone, and I know we're talking about Instagram, so we're going to stay on it, but just think the app's not open. You've got the app tile right there. You click it, and just as you're clicking it, you get the excitement of what's going to pop up.
Yeah.
But then once you get it, it's like, all right, maybe I don't forget what is your homepage, and you can just scroll through and it's like all your friends. But then if you go to the For You page, the Explore page, you click that, and that's like information overload because there's a whole ton of stuff, and it's like, what does Instagram have for me today? And you click it, and then if you scroll through, it is constant anticipation the whole time because I don't know what's going to pop up next. Or if you get on those nasty loops where you get on a reel, and then it's like, what's the next one? What's the next one? The anticipation of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's not the actual watching of the reel or the post. It's truly the anticipation of what's next that I haven't seen before. It's like a digital vending machine. I don't know what I'm going to get. It just happens constantly.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about this before we started today. And so I think that that's also important for people to recognize, is I think a lot of times when people see people getting distracted or there's choices we can all make.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important for people to recognize that all of this is playing into your natural tendencies as a human. So it's like, it's not necessarily being lazy. It's not necessarily a lack of discipline. It's literally all of these things play to our psychology and who we are as humans. And so, because I did write that down, I think sometimes we also start to feel shame and blame for like, oh my God, I just sat there and freaking scrolled Instagram for an hour. And so then that can like intensify the problem, because then I'm trying to then potentially distract myself from now these emotions that all of this is carrying. And so it's just like this weird kind of psychological loop that people can find themselves in.
I guess it's, the question is, what is the distraction? Like, what is it saying to me? Like, what emotion am I trying to manage by allowing myself to be distracted?
Yeah. Well, Brene, she talks a lot about numbing, and distraction is a version of numbing. And a lot of times we numb by any manner of thing. A lot of times when we think of numbing, we think of like alcohol and drugs, and certainly that does. But scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is for hours on end, that's also numbing.
Yep.
And I do think kind of like using it as a clue of, is your distraction a sign of something deeper? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
Yeah.
I do think that it is normal for people to want to zone out for a little bit, although I have my own thoughts. We've talked about this a little bit before about, is it really zoning out? Because I don't think that it is. But I think, are there unresolved emotions there? Like, are you bored? Are you anxious? Do you not know how to get started? Are you fearing failure? All my high C's out there. But it is... if you're feeling like you're needing to be distracted by this, a lot of times it can be a sign that there's something else at work there.
Yeah.
I'm overwhelmed. That's when you need to get your Ivy Lee out and start being real specific about what you need to get done. Because I can easily see how you could fall down the trap of just being distracted by, please let somebody walk up to my desk and talk to me right now so I don't have to work on this project that I don't know how to get started on. I mean, it's maybe I should go upstairs and talk to Rob about the podcast so I can delay this even further.
I was too vague on my Ivy Lee, so I'll do that another day for sure.
So I don't think distraction is always about masking other feelings, but I do think that
something's going on with it.
Yeah.
If you allow the distraction to take you away from what you know is most important. If you get distracted once, no different than like I just mindlessly scrolled on Instagram for an hour. If you did that one time in your life, not that big a problem. You do it every single day, that's something's going on. And it may not be an hour straight, but what if it was?
Yeah.
You have time that is taking you away from what you feel like is most important. Going along with what you said, I came across something and it said, being distracted is not failure, it's data. And so if you're distracted and you don't recognize you're distracted, the first step in that is just becoming aware that I'm being distracted. Because you can just look at what productivity you're supposed to have. I need to get these tasks done and I'm falling short. Well, you fell short because of time management. What were you spending your time doing? Well, I don't know if I want to say. Now your awareness is there and you're like, all right, I got to make a correction. If you don't change it at all, that says something. It's data. If you can make incremental changes towards being more successful in accomplishing those tasks, and that's data too. It's like, hey, I do have control over this. I think the hard part is when you get looped into something and you lose the awareness of what you're doing, and then it's taking you away from, your goal. And so most of the things that we've talked about on this podcast over all this time, a lot of it points back to the very first thing you got to do is have the awareness that I am distracted. And then if you can continue to have the awareness every time it happens faster and faster, I've been on for 1 minute. What am I doing? I need to stop this. Good. That's growth. As Jocko would say, good. But if you can't find the awareness, then there's strategies that you need to implement to catch yourself in that moment. Something I came across that I thought was interesting as well is it just talked about having time where you allow yourself to have like a mental break, almost allowing for the distraction to happen in a controlled moment versus out of your control. So they said, block off time for if you find yourself on social media, or I check my emails and I'm in a job that I don't need to check it all day. I can check it certain times. If it's tasks around the house, I know I need to do this, but I get distracted here. Well, then let yourself have the distraction for X amount of time. But as soon as it's over, I'm done. I move on and I go to productivity mode. And so blocking and planning for that makes it even easier for you to stay on task. And I think even James Clear was talking about reserving certain areas of the house. You were talking about that a little bit, but reserving certain areas for when I'm sitting in this chair, this is what this task means. If this is where I research, this is where I have my Bible study. So I'm not going to have my phone anywhere nearby to be distracted. This is what I'm going to do. And so he says location and time are the two number one triggers for habits, good habits. And I think you were saying something about reserving time or space, like areas for certain tasks. You were talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. There's just like anything that we talk about, I think all of this is choice. You know, we have a choice to make in these situations, and I think we can develop habits over time that take us further and further away from what we know is most important. I was just thinking about this in relation to this. So Mila and I went to the concert last week. And we had a great time. It was really great. I've had these tickets to this concert for, I think we got them last year. So let's see, what is this, June? It's been well over 6 months, maybe more like 8 months. And of course because she is her mother's daughter, she made a PowerPoint.
Oh no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. Why?
She wanted to make sure that and also too, I think for her friend that was going with her, who maybe was not as much of a fan as Mila, but she made like a PowerPoint just to introduce me to the band, to the different people in the band, to the different things. She made that PowerPoint months ago, and she asked me over and over to sit down and watch that PowerPoint. And do you know what? I never watched it before we went. I just said we'd waited over 6 months for this concert. And she probably made it a couple months after but let's just call a spade a spade. It's been at least 6 months since she's made this PowerPoint. And it probably was a total of 10 slides.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking about something incredibly lengthy here. And she asked me to watch it, so go through it with her. And now, this is not an excuse, but most of the time she asked me at like 10 or 10:30 at night. Okay, it's time to go to bed. But I kept saying to her, we have plenty of time before the concert. I'll watch it. We have plenty of time. And apparently, every single time she asked or every single time it came up, there was something else that was, I don't know if it was a distraction or maybe it was, but I always thought something else was more important. And so we went to that concert last week and I still have never seen it.
Huh.
That's terrible.
Maybe you should go back and watch it now and just see what it is.
It's so bad. But I was thinking about this and because I didn't get to finish reading my stats. Some of these things in here, people spend more than 4 hours per day on their phones, excluding work tasks. So then I'm like, so I'm spending 4 hours a day on my phone, but I can't watch her little 10 minutes live presentation? That's terrible. And it's true. It's 100% true, because I'm sure at some point she came down and asked me to watch it, and instead I laid on the couch and scrolled Instagram, because I do think that's part of it too. I find myself sometimes like, I need time. I want my own time, particularly at the end of the day. It's like, can I please just lay on the freaking couch and just scroll Instagram for sometimes an hour? And it's just like, why? That's not more important. That is not more important than me watching that with her.
Yeah.
I feel terrible about that.
What do you feel like you're trying to gain back for that time? Because I think we all have that, especially as parents out there. It's like, I just need my own time. But what do you feel like you're trying to gain in that?
Maybe it's like stillness. Like stillness, toning down the mental noise. Even though I know I really feel deep inside of me that scrolling Instagram does not calm down the mental noise. It actually makes it worse. Because you're looking at all these things and it's just triggering stuff for you. It's like, oh, well, look at these people. They're on vacation again. Not us. We haven't taken a vacation yet this year. Michael, when are we going on vacation? I mean, it just is, oh, look at how beautiful their yard looks. We need to get somebody to come out here and mow the yard. When's somebody going to come power wash the house? Like you're seeing the ads and you're seeing other people. And I know that I'm seeing the highlight reel of everybody's life. I do understand that, but it's still, it's not really providing the calmness and the stillness that I feel like I'm seeking. So when we were preparing for this, I just kept thinking back to myself as like, how many distractions got in the way of me watching her little PowerPoint that she made, apparently months worth of distractions. Yeah. And so when I saw these things, like, did I spend 4 hours a day on my phone? The average person checks their phone 144 times a day. Notifications interrupt people on average of 80 times a day, with many people responding within 90 seconds. 80 times? That's a lot. Did you know on your screen time, if you have an iPhone, on your screen time, if you look at it, it'll tell you how many times you picked up your phone.
I've turned that on to look at it. I'm like,
turn it off.
Yeah, I don't want to look at that distraction anymore. It's not a good distraction for my distractions.
But I just think going back to like getting refocused on what's important. I did write that, like, what's the cost of all of this? The cost of being distracted. I think we've talked about your loss of time, loss of energy, your productivity actually goes down, anxiety, burnout, overstimulation, all of those things by constantly being in that reactive state. I think going back to what happened with Mila, the relationships, how it impacts your relationships. If you're choosing to send that email or do this or do that instead of being present at home, I just think of the cost of it. Yeah. And I don't think Mila's sitting at home. She had a good time at the concert and she ain't worried about whether I saw that PowerPoint or not. But I do think that is kind of just a small example of the cost that could have. Like, what if that was something that was like really important to her? Yeah. And I kept putting it off and putting it off.
She made it 6 months ago. Of course it was important.
And I can see that happening. Yeah. If you let yourself get too far down this rabbit hole, I can see it taking a toll on your relationships with the people that are the most important people in your life. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one thing too. It's like, it's not just picking up my phone. It's like thinking about, what am I saying no to by saying yes to this?
Right. Yeah. I do find that it's important to think about what you just said. And Alan Smith has been saying something that alludes to that. And he says, what's the risk of, and you fill in the blank, what's the risk of allowing myself to continually be distracted? What's the risk of not spending the time that I need to, or looking at the PowerPoint? What's the risk of choosing not to do this or choosing to do this? And so if you look through that lens, through most of the things you're doing day to day, what's the risk of me not finishing this project on time? What's the risk of allowing that little window, it might seem small, that little window popping up in the bottom right for my emails when I could close it down, but I just don't want to take the time to do it because I'm being lazy. Most people wouldn't say I'm just being lazy. It's just like, no, I just don't have the time. But what's the risk of leaving that up when I'm the type of person that I could delete that and just say, I'm not going to get the notification. I'm going to block off my time. I mean, Shallon, when she first got here, she used to always talk about time blocking this and time blocking that.
Yep.
And I'm like, what the crap is this time blocking mess? And then she taught a class on it and I took it and I was like, holy crap, I could do better with my time. And so the premise of that is, you plan throughout the day. These are the times of the day, blocks of the day that I'm going to do certain tasks, and you plan it out. And then you just go do those tasks. And you allot yourself little spaces of buffer time that if you need to get other things done, you can allot for it. But man, your productivity does increase because you got time. And I think when she first introduced that class, I was the contact center director, I think. And I just remember being like, Shallon, I can do that for most things, but you know how many drive-bys I get? You know how many people just roll up in there? People slamming my doors. I kick them out. You know, there's things that pops up and I have to handle it. You know, this is challenging for that. And so at the time I just modified it. Like these are the times of day I plan to do these things. And if it doesn't, then I just, you know, add it on to what other time, and I just shift everything down. So what's the risk of, and then you fill in the blank. And you can go down a very interesting path if you ask yourself that for everything. What's the risk of me continually eating this food or not taking care of myself? Them chips. You know they delicious, and you know you shouldn't be doing it. So I do find that looking at life in that lens is helpful in really anything. And I don't know that Alan recognized how profound that statement was. He's been saying it a lot lately, and I don't know when he first started that, but it caught my ear. And I talked about it today in one of the meetings, and it's been in my brain a lot. And so it can really help you in life. What's the risk of saying no to something? What's the risk of saying yes? What's the risk of going down this path or not? Instead of being lazy, I'm going to be assertive. I found something that was helpful, a tip. This one's a little sciencey, but they talk about our circadian I can't say that word. Circadian, is that right? Circadian with an N?
An N.
Sweet. They just talk about certain times of the day, our productivity can be higher than others. And they say you should try to match it as best as you can, but everybody's a little bit different. Some people are more night owls versus not. They say in the morning, you should budget time for no distractions. So be more absorbing. And so they say spend 30 minutes of your morning being quiet, putting your phone away. If it's breakfast, just enjoy your breakfast with no distraction, and just be aware of what's going on. If you come in the morning, maybe don't turn on your computer for the first little bit and just work on your Ivy League. Do something that doesn't allow for distractions to set in. So they said certain times of the day that should happen. Then there's certain probably times of the day that you as a individual have peak alertness. And so if it's, they said for most people, it's around 10 to 12. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And then later in the day, some people are more peak alert between 4 and 6. So there's certain times a day where you can plan and say, these are the times of the day that I'm the most productive. And so distractions need to be minimized during that time, because now is the time that I'm going to get all this stuff done. Casey Welch always asks in her interviews, she says, what time of day do you find like you're rocking and rolling, like you're just doing your thing, like is your best time? And then what do you find that you tend to do most often, which she's kind of figuring out and identifying talents and what people are interested in. But I like the question of like, when's your jam? Like what part of the day are you just rocking and rolling? Most people probably it ain't at 1:30 after lunch. But if you can plan around that and say, I know I'm going to be trashed for about an hour and a half after lunch, I need to plan around that.
Yeah. Let me do some tasks that don't, like let me, I don't know, answer some emails, send out some calendar invite, just like tasks.
Yep.
Let me do some things there that need to get done, but don't require my full brain power.
Yeah. It said like, it says night owls perform worse in the morning focused environments due to biological mismatch. Like they're just not rocking and rolling then, but those that go to bed early, like me, like if I'm going to bed at 8:30 in the morning, or shoot, that would be nice. I'd love to take me 8:30 a.m. nap, 8:30 at night, and then I'm waking up at 4:50 or something to go to the gym. I know I have to go to bed at that time, but after I get out of the gym and I go to work, I'm firing when I first get there, so I can roll until about 10, and then I start getting hungry. But then after lunch, I know usually about an hour. Like that's not heavy thinking time. Like there might be some just tasks that I need to get done. But then later in the afternoon, I found like 3-ish, I can pick back up again. So you got to plan around that.
Yeah, I read about that. I don't know that I wrote it down, but we do our best work and our best thinking when we're in a flow state. And we've all kind of experienced that, where it's just like, it feels kind of effortless, and it's just, you're just like, oh my God, like, yeah, that's a good idea, and you're just, you're just letting it all kind of happen, that's when we're at our most creative. That's when we get that really great work done. And so going along with what you're saying is like, let's pair up our times where we're capable of being in that flow state. That's when we need to put all the other distractions. Don't even turn your computer on. Don't get your phone out. Just like try and match all of that up so you can get the most out of that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the focus modes on the phone. Like you were talking about, was it study time, education time? What was that one you were hitting earlier?
Work focus?
Yeah. Was it just work?
I have work focus and sleep focus.
Okay. I can't remember what it was called. It's like study or something. I don't know. Those are when that whole, not app, the upgrade happened or whatever. I was like, what the crap is that? And I was like clicking and messing with it. I'm like, this can be huge.
Yeah.
Because you just don't get notifications unless it's certain people. Another strategy that has been helpful for me for social media and whatnot is it does have screen time that you can set and say, after 15 minutes, alert me. And so for the longest time, that was the best thing since sliced bread. I'm like, let's go. 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. 15 minutes has gone by. And I'm like, okay, I need to turn it off. And I did it for a while. And then I allowed myself to be like, thank you for the notification, sucker. I'm going to keep on scrolling. And then I get another notification. I'm like, I got it.
Approve all day.
And I've been scrolling. And I'm like, that was the whole point of that. And so if you set something for yourself, just follow it. You set it for a reason in the first place. But those adjustments can be helpful. Going back to James Clear, talking about good habits, which really tie to distractions. If I can change my environment to where it will be more distraction free, that can be helpful. And so whether it be at your home or at work, let's just talk about work for a second, but make your work area boring. Put your phone where you can't see it so the notifications don't pop up on your phone. Clean off things, the clutter. So if you're the type that procrastinates or, you have stuff all over your desk, those can be distractions by themselves of like, oh, this project I got to finish. All right, I'm going to put this one here because I got to get to that in a minute. In fact, what was that again? And then you start messing with it and you just switch tasks and you're supposed to stay focused. So file those things away, put them on a list. This is the order that I need to get them in. But make your work area very boring because things on your desk can distract you. Same thing with your phone. Keep another thing for social media that we talked about on a previous pod was not having it on your home screen. Don't have social media on your home screen. So when you unlock your phone, the first things you should see are primarily like maybe it's just your email, which that could be distracting, or texts. But put that stuff on another page where you have to scroll through, go into a box and open it. So that's great. The last thing I'll say, maybe at home, because it works exactly the same as locations. If there's a certain area that you need to work, that area needs to be dedicated to work only, like the bed thing. Like bed is for sleep. This area is for work. But 2, make that area not distracting. Don't have snacks on your desk. You're going to whip out some chips, some little triangle chips. You're going to whip out something like that and you're crunching away. That's not a good space to be because then you get hungry, even though you're not hungry, and then you're over there in the kitchen like I would be. Because you got to hit your protein goal for the day because that's important, Let's talk about priorities, y'all.
That's that internal. There's the internal self-talk. How much protein have I had today?
I'm way off. Let me go get some turkey real quick.
That's right.
Next thing you know, 20 minutes gone by because turkey's dry. I ain't got no gravy. So make that area boring and put distractions away. Change your work environment on your computer to where you don't have notifications unless you have to. But there are going to be things that deplete your motivation reservoir. Like distractions will deplete that and your motivation dwindles, and then you find yourself in a space where nothing's getting done. So fabricating that environment to suit you best takes a little bit of discipline, but once you create it, then you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. I think if I could add anything to the strategies, I think we've talked about so many of them. We've talked about time blocking. We've talked about turning off your notifications, using focus, keeping your phone out of sight. We've talked about Ivy Lee. There's a lot of tools that our technology provides us, like just use them. If you go to your screen time on your iPhone, you can see the things that are distracting you.
Oh, yeah.
It'll tell you spent this many hours on Instagram, this many hours. It'll tell you. So there's not even a question. You can see what it is that's distracting you. And so like utilize that stuff. And I think the other part I would say is, we talked about this a little bit, is this is normal. I think we live in a day and age where the distractions are just bountiful. And I think that, like I said, when we started today, I think we can all agree we are more distracted now than we have been. I mean, if you just think about it, just in my own lifetime, the amount of distractions, like for me, when I was at the house, when I was little, it was either like the TV or the phone. That's it. There was nothing else to distract you, if we're talking about external distractions. Right. So, but then as time has gone on, it's just gradually, like I can clearly hear my sister in the kitchen. That's where the computer was, with the doors opening and closing.
Oh, on AIM?
Yeah.
AIM?
Yeah. When she would be on Instant Messenger, it's like the door closes.
Yeah. Yep, the door would shut. Yeah.
And so then it's like, then there was that. And we've just continued to evolve. And so I think it's important for people, like we talked about, is just to start becoming aware, and becoming aware without judgment. It's like, oh my gosh, I just spent entirely too long. Let me put my phone out of sight, out of mind. Like I need to put it over here, because I think when we start this whole shame, blame, judgment cycle, now we've come into something completely different. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't watch Miles' PowerPoint. I'm a terrible mom. Like, then we get into some different places where then we're digging in. We're kind of entrenching ourselves in some different stuff there. Yeah. So I think it's important, like, just start being self-aware, but being self-aware without judging. And then once you know what to do, then do something.
Yeah.
And I think we've given some ideas today of some things that people can do.
You just did a phenomenal job recapping today. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks. I almost took the rapid fire recap thing completely off my page because I don't ever do it.
It's gone. I just make mine up as we go, but you did a good job.
Well, I appreciate that.
You just transition right in.
Thanks.
Transition us out of this,
That's
this
right.
bad boy.
That's right. All right. Well, we hope that you guys have enjoyed listening today. Like we said, ourselves included with this distraction episode, I can definitely take some of my own advice and start working on some of these things so I don't miss any more important PowerPoints from my babies at the house.
Yeah.
If you have not already, please like us on Spotify and Apple and subscribe to our new YouTube channel. We will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for listening. Peace, love, and easy does it.
Hey, appreciate y'all.